Pop in, say hi. If you've never come into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. Today, I stayed on the inside because I have been giving her a little bit in being outside, whether it was going for walks, right, or going swimming or visiting family. I have been trying to stay busy in, right, getting a little bit of exercise. One of my favorite things to do is to walk up and down back alleys, look at people's backyards, their off or their patio furniture, their decks, their gardens. I love the gardens. Actually, when I'm on my walks, I'm walking up and down the back alleys. I'm right. I love back alleys, but at this time of year, I'm looking for rhubarb. I am a big rhubarb fan, and oh my goodness, $5.99 a pound for rhubarb. That's like two sticks of rhubarb. That's absolutely crazy. You can't even make a pie with that. But yeah, it has been a week for being out and about. Um, I am trying to bring my weight down a little bit, but more specifically, I'm trying to make sure that I stay limber, that I stay in a state of physicality where I'm actually, right, not, I am aching because I'm giving it too much, I think. I think I'm 20 sometimes. But to stay limber and to stay comfortably active, and that's why I like to be outside, right? When I come home from walks, people are always amazed. Oh, where did you walk today? I said, oh, you wouldn't believe where I walked today. And then I walked home. I've been really enjoying my recreational pass. I got a recreational pass. Was it last weekend? Maybe last weekend I got a recreational pass, and I've been using the public swimming pools and getting exercise that way. I bought myself a pair of swimming goggles, totally forgetting that I wear glasses. And I'm thinking, how am I going to wear these goggles, right? It wasn't even a point in getting those goggles because, right, I can't see without my glasses. These are not reading glass. These are not reading glasses. And then surprisingly, after, I've been to the pool a couple of times now, but at the end of my session, after a couple of hours of swimming yesterday, I'm trying to think. Yes, I went swimming yesterday. Um, After going swimming, I was there for about a couple of hours, but after about an hour and a half, I pulled out my swimming goggles. And I thought, well, we could try them out because at the very least, because one of my favorite things to used to do anyway was to throw my locker key into the water and then go diving and find the locker key. But I can't do that because I can't see underwater. I don't open up my eyes under the water. It was the whole reason why I got the goggles to start with. But I put them on. I took these glasses off. I just put them in the tray where the water drains into. I thought, oh, nobody will sit on them or stand on there or anything. Within five minutes, somebody almost destroyed my glasses. So I actually took one of those floaty things and I put my glasses behind that, knowing that, if anybody bent down to grab the floaty thing, I would notice and I could give them a quick shout or something. I wouldn't even have been able to get out of the pool without my glasses. That's how kind of blind I am. I don't know who else out there is farsighted, but I'm extreme. Well, I guess I'm dual farsighted. I have very low prescription in one eye, very high in the other. So I have a nearsighted eye and I have a farsighted eye. and it's why I have the progressive bifocals, but they didn't do a good job, obviously, because Cindy's always trying to save money, and that's what I did. And they didn't get the prescription good, um, only because they don't have nose guards. And I'm talking about these glasses here. These kind of glasses, they don't have nose guards, so they don't sit on my nose where they're supposed to be. They kind of sit down, and right, I don't read very well with them. Next pair, I won't get the progressive bifocals. I'll get the bifocals, but I'll get the invisible line ones. At the very least, I can adjust them myself, for reading. But anyway, I put these goggles on at the pool, these swim goggles on, and I was really, really surprised that I could see half decently. I guess there's a little bit of magnification in the plastic waterproof, screen that covers your eyes. And I was really surprised that I could see as well as I could under the water. So, but by that time, I was already getting cramps in my legs. I like to do the laps, so the whole time of swimming, pretty much, I spent it in laps in the pool. And yeah, I could always tell I'm good for about an hour and a half. I won't go too much longer than that if I have walked there. And that's what I did. I walked about 4 miles to the swimming pool, and then I swam for another hour and a half, and it really did me in. The time before that, I took a bus to the swimming pool, and then I walked home, and that seemed to work out a lot better for me. Tomorrow I have a dentist appointment, so I'll be going in two more dentist appointments, you guys, and I'm all done. Maybe even one. I don't know. We'll see how far they get with me tomorrow. I'm not a big dentist fan, but I do take care of my teeth to the best of my ability. Coming from that upbringing, that my parents weren't even super concerned about teeth brushing, and that is the truth. I don't ever remember my parents say go brush your teeth before you go to bed, or did you brush your teeth before you went to school. We were pretty feral growing up. Maybe it just didn't seem as important to them as I feel it is very important. There's some cultures that brush their teeth after every single meal. I was lucky if I brushed my teeth once a day. Maybe as a teenager, for sure, I would have brushed my teeth once a day, only because, I was interested in boys at that time. But as a child, oh my goodness, I could probably go a week without brushing my teeth, maybe even a couple of weeks. Both my parents, and I guess it was fairly common in the 60s and 70s that everybody had dentures, but both my parents had dentures. Um, well, by the time I was a teenager. And like I said, it wasn't on the high end of importance in our family. Hygiene in general, right? It was left to each one of us to make those choices. And for myself, even today, I like bright clothes. You guys all know quite often I do wear bright clothes. I like all kinds of bright colors. Pink is one of my favorite colors. Blue is a new favorite of mine. Um, Probably in the past half a dozen years or so. But even in my hair, you can't see the pink in my hair. You can see the dark in my hair. Oh my goodness, you guys! I've got like 2 inches of new growth. I have not colored my hair now. I believe it's been about four months. It's the first time in, oh, wow, you guys, 40 years, more than 40 years that I haven't colored my hair. I've colored my hair every 6 weeks since I was 16 years old. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Andrew. Melvin's here. Oh my goodness, Melvin. Where have you been? Oh my goodness, Melvin, do you know how worried I was? Do you know how worried I was after you? Oh my Melvin, I'm sorry you guys, but I am so excited to see you, Melvin. Like, oh my goodness, I even had these guys praying for you. We all noticed that you weren't around, but especially in my other show, right? In Chatter's Live. Oh my goodness, I am just so shocked. I am so happy. I even looked through my address book, Melvin. If there is at some point, you can send me a message through my Instagram or my Facebook. You can just send it Prairie Dodgers straight across. I'll get that message, but I need your address, Melvin. I was so worried. What was going on? Like I knew I didn't tick you off, right? I said, oh, there must be something wrong. Something happened to Melvin, you guys. And I was really, truly worried for you. Oh, I'm so excited to see you, Melvin. I'm so happy. What was going on with you? How come I haven't seen you? Oh, my goodness. I'm so excited to see Melvin. But I'm excited to see you guys too. Hello, Owen. Hello, Owen. Oh, my goodness. Right? It really was. Every single live show since, oh my goodness, I haven't seen Melvin in over a month now. And Melvin used to come into my lives every night. Every time I did a live, he would pop in and say hi. Super excited, right? Yeah, I want your address, Melvin. So yeah, send it to me. And you guys, right? I should have your addresses because you guys know I send Christmas cards if there's no postal strike here in Canada. I send Christmas cards out. So if I don't have your address, please get a hold of me. My email is down below. Yeah, send it to me. Right? We are a community here, and you could tell. See how worried how worried I was there. But Melvin, you're still there. If you just popped in to say hi and then you popped out, right? Right? I hope you got my message to get a hold of me. If not, I look forward to seeing you in my What's My Good Cheer, my podcast. Pop in, say hi. You guys, it has been a week. It's been a week emotionally, as you guys know. My sister Tracy, we're still waiting. She's had her operation canceled twice now. She was actually supposed to be in again this Friday, but they canceled it again. So we are just looking to hear back from the surgeon. She let them know she can't take this. Her emotions and her anxiety. She can't take the roller coaster of the up and down and the emotions. And when she told me it got canceled again, I was right. I was not happy about that because I could see how happy she was that it got canceled. I could see how happy she was that she got canceled. And I said, Tracy, you're just happy it got canceled because it just means you're not going in for the operation. You should be like pushing them and right. But she did tell them that, she can't take the stress of it anymore. Not only the stress of it, because when she's prepping for the operation, she has to come off of all her blood pressure pills and all that in preparation for it. So it's not good for her to be up and down in the medication too. Okay. So back in after Melvin got me all excited. I'm so happy. Oh, I'm so happy, you guys. Right? I was really worried. I was really worried for Melvin. I didn't think that I ticked him off. I didn't think that he just kind of disappeared on us or anything. I really thought that something had happened. I didn't think there was anything that could keep Melvin away from coming into my lives, right? But when he didn't show up, I noticed right away. Then I started asking after him. Then I was looking for an address to see if I possibly had his address. and right, and our minds play funny tricks on us sometimes, especially when I know that Melvin's in his 70s now. Like my mind went to all kinds of places, and yeah, so I'm happy. I'm happy. That puts some good cheer into my week right there. That puts some amazing good cheer. And thank you so much for coming into the live tonight and relieving that little bit of right stress that I had over that. I hope all of you guys have had an amazing week. I know here in Manitoba, it has been. Here, I'll show you guys a picture. I went up onto the roof of my building, and I took some pictures of what our city. This is our city. The smoke is way up north, but this was our city this week. We were voted. We were voted. That's from the top of my roof. You could see here. Whoopsie. That's our legislative building. I have a beautiful picture window. I can see the legislative really well from my front room window. But look at all that smoke. We were voted the most air polluted destination in the entire world. We even built India. We right. We beat India in the pollution aspect. Here, I actually even have um, this one here. I'll just turn the sound down so that, and we'll just turn it on, and you guys can see as I walk around the roof line, and you could see how bad the whole city is in the smoke. Look at, it's just, we're in the prairies. You could see quite a far away because we are pretty flat, but it was like smog, and it's been like that all week. And um and yeah, we did get some rain. Past couple of days it's been raining off and on. That smoke should kick up quite a bit because of the rain, but the past couple of days it has not been so bad. But I only think it's because of the way the wind is blowing it. I think it's blowing it into the States. It's blowing south into North Dakota and Montana and Michigan. Right, but there are other provinces. Like I heard that Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are struggling with forest fires. I heard that BC has got some really major forest fires, but I also heard that there's some places in the States that are struggling with the forest fires now too. It made me think of the possibilities, when they say about these lost cities in South America where they're absolutely complete. Some rocks have tumbled down, but it doesn't look like they were destroyed by war, and they were trying to think of why these whole cities just disappeared, right? And they even tested the dirt, but the Aztecs, they actually had a way of making black dirt. So when they tested the dirt is so nutrient rich, so it was not a problem for the growing of crops. But they thought maybe it was because they depleted their forest. And if you have seen where these big cities are in South America, it's bush and jungle and rainforest absolutely everywhere. It's hard to fathom that they depleted all the trees. So I was kind of thinking, with climate change and stuff, that Is it possible that it was forest fires that actually made it so that these cities actually had to be abandoned? But then again, I don't know, because right now, just telling that story, I never took it into consideration. They would see the fire marks like on the pyramids in these Aztec cities if that was the case. But yeah, they still haven't figured it out. Sometimes another idea I had, I had came up with this idea probably 10 or 15 years ago at least, because here in Winnipeg, we are in this intersection of two rivers. The Red River that comes up from the states. It's actually a stem of the Mississippi, and it flows into Manitoba. But we also have the Assiniboine River, and it's a cross section, right? And I was actually thinking, in the late 1800s, when they settled Manitoba, they called it the Selkirk settlement, and it was Lord Selkirk out of Scotland, and he brought some settlers here to Manitoba, and they planted themselves in this where the two rivers cross each other, right? But on the other side of one of the rivers. And, over time, right, the city got big, right? The city got really big. And because people were given land free, if they could like till it and keep it running for 10 years, that land would be theirs. That lots of the husbands would come into the big city during the recession and look for work, and then they would just send money home, right? But they turned all those big mansions where, the first settlers that did well when they first settled here, they were still here. They were all merchants and bankers and manufacturing. We had oh my goodness, we had over 24 railway lines that rode right into the city. That's a lot. And we specialized in textiles, but we were distributors because anything that went anywheres in North America had to come through Winnipeg. But when they built the I was going to say the Pan Am, but that's my swimming pool. The Panama Canal. When they built the Panama Canal, things changed, right? The railways shut down. CN Railway shut down, and yeah, there's a lot of railway underneath the roadways and stuff in Winnipeg. They're just not being used anymore. But when I was thinking, because they turned all these big mansions where all these rich people, right, the first settlers and merchants and bankers lived, into rooming houses for the men who were coming in from the fields to try and, make some extra money so that they could keep their farms going and keep their families going. And it got riffraffery. It's been a word I've been using lately. I heard one of my favorite thought leaders out there use it, and it kind of stirred me up a little bit because I felt I was a little bit of who he was talking about, right? He's having a big seminar and selling his book and everything. And right, I get the emails, and I would love to buy his book. I'm just not in a position to buy a $30 book, $40 book, plus the shipping because it's coming from the States. And so, but I'm going to the seminar. It's a free seminar anyway. But he referred to people who can't buy his book as riffraffs. People are coming to his seminar just as riffraffs. I know he didn't mean it that way. He's just trying to drum up money for his books and stuff. But I did. I felt the pinch in that. And I found myself this week using that terminology more than a few times. The riffraff, and I'm not going to use it again in telling the story about all these amazing men who left their family after just coming back from the First World War, right? Because that's when we started going into the recession, was right after the First World War. And we were in it for, oh my goodness, 10, 12, 15 years before things started getting a little bit better. Lots of people lost their houses and their farms, and right, the Dust Bowl, food and soup kitchens. It was really bad in North America. People tend to forget how bad it really was, at times. When we see things go on right now in the world and we think, oh, it's the worst time ever. Like this is just absolute. No, it's been a lot worse than this. And you know what? For me personally, I think it's getting better. But I'm from that mentality, sometimes you got to make a mess to clean a mess. But to get back to my story about the downtown and turning all these mansions into rooming houses and stuff. Right? They started building bars, and guys started hanging out in the parks, and the families that built the city, they got a little bit nervous for the next generation, for their kids and for their neighbors and for their partners in business. And so they came to the other side of the river, which basically the indigenous and the Métis were hanging out and living on this side of the river. And they built new mansion communities on this side of the river earlier this week. What day was that? Monday or Tuesday? I think it was Monday. No, maybe Tuesday. Tuesday, because Monday was a holiday, so everything was closed. So Tuesday, I went for a walk, and I walked in an area that my sister had driven through. I've never walked in that area. It's not too far from where I live. I don't know why I've never walked in that area, but I never have. And I remember it used to be a pretty bad area, right? Lots of drinkers and people who have problems live down there. But the houses are so beautiful. The apartment buildings, the stores are original from the early 1900s. And again, because the merchants and everything came to this side of the river, they built again the big mansions and stuff. And so I decided to go for a walk. And yes, the area is still, it's not the best area, but those houses, you could just imagine in the early 1900s how beautiful that neighborhood was, right? And people were still really kind, and right, I wore my Egyptian dress and I just went for walks, and everybody stopped me and we talked. And it was kind of like the dress was kind of an entry into the conversation. It was some people, right? They want to talk, but they don't know what to say. So when you're walking down the sidewalks, you get a hello and you say hello back. But if you actually say something, even if it's just, oh, beautiful weather, or right, but my dress was so beautiful, and I shined like a diamond. It was so beautiful. And everybody stopped to tell me how beautiful my dress was. And it started little conversations during the course of my walk. And everybody was so nice to me. Everybody was so kind, even if it wasn't the best neighborhood, because again, they moved again on the other side of the other river, and they started building mansions there. I think it was in the 1920s or something. They started building mansions on the other side of the river, only because we were prospering a little bit more. And the First World War was over, and right, things were going back to maybe not normal, right? Because these kind of world experiences that we have, right? We heard there's been some peace treaty signings and stuff this week. That's some good news. I heard that they're working on the Russian and Ukrainian conflict now and trying to resolve that one, right? I wish they could, right, resolve the Israel and Gaza one, right? That's pretty bad, especially when people are starving and truly physically suffering, right? But yeah, my walk the other day landed me in a gated community in a pretty bad neighborhood, right? It was pretty bad neighborhood, like really bad bars and stuff like that, right? And but it was gated, but I guess it was gated in the early 1900s because it was a special community at that time. And yeah, if you I wish I had taken some pictures of some of those mansions, but oh my goodness, they were spectacular. Wrap around porches, just not on the first floor, but the second floor and in the bedrooms. And oh my goodness. And the houses were so big. The house itself was double lots, but then they all had double lots attached to it as yards, right? And beautiful wrought iron gates. Oh my goodness. And it made an all day walk just so amazing. And I was tired. Like I could have walked, and I noticed that the sun was starting to go down and stuff. And I went, oh my goodness, my day went so fast. I've been walking all day. I picked up a slushy, like a 7-Eleven Slurpee, but it was from like a Mac store. It's another convenience store like 7-Eleven, but it was like crystal light, so it had no sugar in it or anything. So I picked myself up this slushy, and I went on my what it lasted me almost the entire walk. I don't know, because it was right, not a real Slurpee. Like it tasted like a Slurpee and everything, but that they wouldn't have diet Slurpees unless they had a different way to make them, right? So that they actually froze up like that. But yeah, my slushy lasted pretty much for my whole walk, and I was gone for hours. I came home and I wanted to do my live show a little bit early, but my feet were just, they were buzzing. Oh my goodness, my feet were buzzing. And it was hot. When I came home, I didn't recognize that it was over almost 30. Well, it was almost 30 Celsius when I got home. But I got home already when the sun was starting to go down. So I know it was over 30 degrees that day. Um, I was said I wasn't going to go for another walk, but the next day I went for a walk, and then yesterday I walked to go to the swimming pool, and that's about a 4 kilometer about, because I looked it up on Google Maps. It's about a 4 kilometer walk, and then again being in the swimming pool for a couple of hours. I need to take a look at the clock and see when I get in the pool and when I get out, but I past few times I forgot to do that because I'd like to make sure that I'm in the pool for at least an hour and a half. I usually just let my bladder tell me when it's time to leave, right? And yeah, it's been really wonderful to get some exercise, stay limber, enjoying my summer, even though there's not a been a lot of funds. Funds, when I'm saying funds, I like lots of fun, but money wise, there hasn't been a lot of money or anything. But to find fun things to do uh, during the course of the summer, it's really made my summer enjoyable. And that was kind of my intent, when I left my job, that I was going to take the summer off, because I don't think I have ever had a true summer off. Oh, maybe that's not true. In my early adulthood, I was a bit of a bum hanging out with my friends and stuff. So there were times, I'm sure, when I went on unemployment or something and I enjoyed my summers. But in the past at least 20 years, at the very least 30 years probably, I have not had a summer off. And so I wanted to take the summer off. I wasn't too sure whether or not I would be able to do it, um, and still be able to properly keep a roof over my head. But I'm really kind of grateful, right? Because I got a little bit of help, right? I got my bus, I got a low income bus pass. I got my uh, what do you call that, rec pass, so I can go swimming for free. I got oh my goodness, I got a few really nice things that the government did for me. Even my landlord, right, knocked my rent down a little bit so that I could manage a little bit easier. I don't know how long the funds are going to last. I haven't dipped into my savings yet. I still have that anticipation and that dream that I am, right. And plus, it's for my brand, right? These are my outdoor videos that I take off in September, right? Because I can't take off all the time like I'd like to, but I really do put September off to the side so that I make sure that I have my outdoor explores, right? For my channel. And you guys know I like to go to Ontario. I haven't touched that money yet. It's still sitting there, but I'm also falling behind in my bills now. And I can't just wait for miracles. I have to make moves. And if those moves mean that I have to, right, put that money. I have to take care of myself. I have to take care of my household, my cat, my roof over my head, and I have to pull my weight too. So, I've got a month to figure it out. If I can't figure it out, I will do what I have to do and will go back to work. I've had a nice rest. I've had a really nice summer. I've really had a nice summer off. I really did enjoy it. And at this time, when my sisters are going through their own thing, that it's nice that I'm able to be available if they should need me. But my sisters are pretty stubborn in themselves, right? So they wouldn't ask for anything, but I kind of push myself here and there. The smoke, the wildfire smokes have been bothering one of my sisters, Tracy, because she's going in for that operation. Her breathing has to be good, right? They're going to put her under, and I was trying to think of solutions that she could keep her airways nice and open, that she could, right? Even if she just stays in the apartment, don't leave the house, stay in the apartment. You're supposed to stay in the apartment. You're relaxing. You're right. You're waiting to have a very serious operation. It doesn't mean go off and go shopping and go to play VLTs, video lottery terminals. My sisters like to gamble a little bit too, right? But that's right. I control my own actions. I cannot gamble, not even once. I don't even do lottery tickets. I will never ever gamble again. That is an absolute truth in my heart. I know it for a fact. Um, but but yeah, so I came up with this idea because she's also diabetic, right? So I said, well, she can get cough drops. And then I thought, oh no, she can't suck on those candies because they got sugar in them. And I thought, well, maybe they have sugar free halls now, like they had that sugar free crystal light Slurpee that I had the other day when I went for my walk. And sure enough, they did. And I thought maybe, that cough drop, uh, right, that she sucks on one of those, it would give her that open, right, chest feeling so that she doesn't put herself in a panic mode because she's not breathing good because of all the smoke. but that smoke has been pretty bad. Um, yeah, it has been. Lots of people in the city are back in their COVID masks, right? They're back in their masks. Today it is a little bit smoky out there, but it's nowhere's near as bad as it's been earlier in the week. It was, even when I went for my walk, it was in the air everywhere. I didn't wear a face mask. I have pretty good health. I have pretty good lungs, but they say that it's like every hour that you're outside, it's like smoking 4 to 6 cigarettes in an hour. That's how bad the smoke was. And like I said, for the first time in the history, right? We were the number one spot in the world for air pollution. I was shocked when I heard that. But you know what? It is what it is. It's cooling down now. This past week we have stayed, well, the past couple of days anyway, we've been in the low 20s with nice breezes. I know the breezes aren't good for the fires, but we've also been getting rain too. So it is in my hopes. We're supposed to have rain tonight and tomorrow. So I'm hoping that, we can really put out and do some damage to those forest fires. But these forest fires, with climate change, with the global warming, right? We are coming out of an ice age, and yeah, it's just going to get drier and drier and drier, and yeah, we're going to lose our. Oh, you guys, right? I don't know if you guys are. I don't know why I thought to tell you guys. You might think it's cute. You might think it's a little bit silly, but on my walks, right, even yesterday, I stopped off at every few trees that I came from. I always try and let all the tree branches. I walk by yards with hedges and stuff, and I make sure my hand or under the branches that my hair is touching the leaves and stuff. But the trees on the boulevards and stuff, I go right up to the trees and I put the palm of my hand on the trees. But I thought, how do the trees feel about this, right? They don't speak in a human language, but I'm sure they speak nonetheless, right? That, they're rooted to each other. And even if I can't catch every tree, if I catch the odd tree, that maybe it would be important for me to kind of let them in on what's going, because right, this they know what that smell is. I'm sure of it. They know that it's their brothers and their sisters and their parents' seeds and generations, because some of these trees are hundreds of years old. That, right, they're worried. They might even be scared themselves, right? How do we know? Because, right, we don't speak tree, right? We don't speak tree, just like trees don't speak English or any other language that humans speak. So I just kind of stopped off at the trees and put my hands on the palm of my hands on the trees, and I just let them know there's forest fires. We're trying really, really hard to stop the fires. The fires aren't going to come into the city, that they're safe, right? They're safe because if they can smell the fires, they might think that the fires are coming for them too. At the very least, let them know that they're safe. And also because of my beliefs about, trees are rooted, right? They talk to each other, they're intertwined with each other, and they could possibly pass that message along. I don't know if you guys think that's silly or not, but, even if there's a small chance, I would have wanted to alleviate that little bit of anxiety for the trees that bring so much joy into my life. Isn't that silly that the trees bring joy to my life? They absolutely do. Um, Andrew says, if my memory of biology is right, the trees are processing some of the smoke and creating oxygen. Okay, right? Because yeah, they breathe nitrogen, don't they? But I still think they would understand that they're smelling and breathing in their own kind, right? So, and even if I'm wrong in that, if there's even a slight possibility, I wanted to make sure that they were okay. But yeah, you're 100% right there, Andrew. The trees are probably benefiting quite a bit by the nitrogen that is burning in the air and all that smoke and stuff. It's probably, as the smoke, because it's going to settle like Pompeii into dust and stuff, isn't it? That it'll settle to the ground and fertilize the ground. So all plants are going to benefit from that nitrogen. Yeah, thanks for bringing that to my attention. Makes me feel a little bit better, Andrew. Oh my goodness. Melvin, he didn't come back in, you guys? Did Melvin pop back in? I don't think he did. Melvin, if you're out there, can you say hi? Hi tonight, and let us know that you're kind of hanging out with us, because yeah, right. Send me a message. Let me know what's been going on. You can, right? I have my email down below in the description, you guys. You guys write that down before I switch it over to a Prairie Dodgers, because I have a Prairie Dodgers email. But right now, that's my true email. So as long as, I don't have a gazillion people watching my lives, that at the very least, you guys, I want you to make sure that you guys have my emails. A lot of you already have my emails, but if you don't have my email, you're welcome to send me emails. My email address is down below. If not, you can catch me on Instagram. You can message me through Instagram, or you can message me through Facebook, right? And even if you get into the Prairie Dodgers, right? PrairieDodgers at gmail.com. You can, right, send me an email through that too. And yeah, I don't want to lose touch with you guys. And you guys know how I panicked over losing Melvin for a month. You guys could imagine how I'm going to feel about you guys if you, right, if I don't have your address or a way to get a hold of you. It's going to be a little bit frantic for me at the very least, because you guys have become like family to me over the past 10 years. You definitely have. I can't imagine that you guys have still been with me all these years later, right? After all those pivots, after all that brand changing that I've been doing, that you guys stuck with me anyway. And I may have some exciting news for you guys down the road. I have no idea how it's going to happen, but I think I found a property that I really want. So, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. We'll see if I can make that happen. I have no idea. I have problems even putting the roof over my head in the moment. But oh my goodness, I came across it, and actually I did come across it, but I kind of didn't add it to my favorites list or anything like that. And when I had this idea, I went, "Oh, that place in my mind," and it was just eating me in my brain. And I understand things come across my path for a reason, and because I had been munching on it in my brain, I went back into my MLS, which is a realtor real estate group, and they have listings and stuff. It took me about a half an hour to find it again because I didn't favorite it. I don't know why I didn't favorite it, because it was in my price range. Probably because it was, I don't know why I did it, because in looking at it a second time, when I was inspired to go look for it a second time, and because it was on my mind, like it was on my mind, that's why I went back in to search for it. And I looked at it as, why didn't I heart this? Why didn't I favorite this? Right? I was grateful that I found it again, because of the thousands and thousands and thousands of real estate listings, it should have been pretty impossible for me to find it again. But I did find it, you guys, and yeah, if I could make that happen in any way, because I have this idea, I wouldn't have gone off and searched for it again unless it was something important that I should take a second look at. And I did, and I just fell in love with it. And my brain went 100 miles an hour because it's just in a district that's pretty close to my crystal mining and my favorite provincial parks. And you guys know I'm looking for a retirement home, right? And yeah, it would be absolutely perfect in a beautiful little town, and close to everything that I could absolutely hope for, right? Even 20 minutes from another town that actually has a Tim Horton. And you guys know I like my coffee shop coffee. Yeah. But it was interesting. Hello, Eugene. I'm good tonight. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for coming into the live. We were just talking a little bit about my week. I guess we went into a little bit about the history. Did I finish that about the history? Yeah, so they ended up, right? So it's another reason why some cities pick up and leave, right? Because again, the areas go bad. And because, these pyramids were all made with rocks and stuff that maybe, right, a different style of taste or something made these Aztecs decide, well, we need to build different cities, right? I don't know. But you would think that they would use the materials that they used to build the cities that they had as the new materials to build the new cities. I don't know. I don't know what happened there, right? Maybe it was the Spaniards. Maybe it was. I have no idea. Maybe they'll find out one day, because the Aztecs, they actually did, do a lot of this picking into the rocks and into their plaster or their concrete mixtures that they did for whitewashing their pyramids and stuff. So there's still a chance that there might be a sundial or something out there that might actually have that information for us. There were a couple of discoveries though in some of these. They found a tablet that they think belongs to a biblical character, somebody from the Bible. They found that. I don't know who the biblical person was, the character. I didn't go actually into the article, so it was just the headline that I came across. But if it does come across my path again, my curiosity is jogged enough that I'm going to want to go back in and check it out to see what that was all about, and I'll let you guys know next week. And hopefully, it's some good news next week with the wildfires, right? And some good news at the end of the week. So next week, maybe some good news, because all my dental appointments will all be over. I got a big chip, right? And being in social media and in communication, it's not good to have a chip in my teeth. And I've had that chip for quite a while now and just couldn't afford to get it fixed. But, with the new Canadian dental plan, oh my goodness, just miracles after miracles. I'm only going to end up having to pay, I don't know, a few $100s or something. My sisters helped me out with that, and yeah, we're going to have that all taken care of, and I think I saved about $2,000 in my goals for this year. I had it as one of my goals, but I thought it was only going to cost me 650. That's the budget I said I had to raise to get my teeth fixed. Oh my goodness. And in the end it was like $2,500 altogether. Thank goodness I got on that Canadian dental plan. It's so much better than our medical plan, and we have a pretty good medical plan in here in Canada. In some provinces you pay every couple of months you pay a small fee towards your insurance. They don't do that here in Manitoba. They just issue you your medical card, and if you need to see a doctor, you just make an appointment. You go see your doctor. They do say I don't go for emergency operations, but if I'm looking at my sister's situation where she's had her quadruple heart bypassed, canceled on her not once but twice now, and we're waiting for her to go in again. That might be an indication of wait times when you need a serious operation. So I do every once in a while hear the grumblings about being able to see the specialist when we do have the free health insurance. But I don't know. I've never had that experience. I never had that experience myself. I have, for the most part, been very healthy all my life. Um, Even though I was 311 pounds, and it's not like I'd never been in the hospital, because you guys know, I've told you many times that I had a gastric bypass. That was one of the scariest operations that I could ever imagine, and that pain was incredible all up my back, and oh my goodness, it was excruciating, that one. But I wasn't on a waiting list for too long. My surgeon actually wanted me to wait a year before I had any plastic surgery. Even with the gastric bypass, they put me on a waiting list, and somebody canceled, and I was able to get in after a couple of months of waiting. The plastic surgery, my surgeon wanted me to wait, right, to make sure that I could maintain my weight, that I wasn't going to gain any weight back or anything when I had those. I had a tummy tuck and breast reduction, right? And I got on a cancel on that one too, and I didn't have to wait for very long on a waiting list, right? And so I didn't even end up having to wait a year like my surgeon asked me to before having that operation. I just got slipped in a cancellation. I put myself on the waiting list because he told me, he was specific. I want you to hold this weight off for a year before we give you any cosmetic surgery. And I bawled my eyes out. He actually let me use the doctor's office because I couldn't control myself, right? I had just met my future husband. I had boobies down to my ankles and so much loose skin. I didn't recognize or even understand that after I lost all that weight that things were going to go back to normal afterwards, right? That I actually would have to take surgery. It never even crossed my mind until I saw what was going on with my body after I maybe lost maybe 100 pounds or 150 pounds, that I went, oh my goodness, this is never going back. And right, while I was losing that weight, I was riding bikes and I was walking, and right, and it didn't help. The exercise didn't help in that. And um, and yeah, so I sat in that office when he says, like, you got to go another year, Sydney. I went, oh, and I cried. And he come and check on me every 10 minutes or so. I must have been in his doctor's office by myself, bawling my eyes out for an hour. And then finally I went, just sniffled it up, and I walked by, and I went to the receptionist desk, and I don't know how I even knew to ask. I says, "Oh, is there any way that I could get on a cancellation a list?" And she says, "Oh, sure." And she put me on a cancellation list, and I got in. I couldn't have waited more than a couple of months, and I was in, and I was able to get my operations on the go. And then it took about a year because they don't do all the operations at the same time, right? Right, because they want to make sure that everything looks good and goes back the way it's supposed to. So they just did everything in increments. And I was so happy. I was so grateful. I Even to this day, I think we have the best medical system in the entire world. I mean, maybe Norway and Switzerland, maybe they have good health insurance, but they pay a lot. They pay, I think it's 40 or 50% of their wages go towards taxes. That's a lot of money. But they get nanny daycares when mothers get pregnant. They have 4-day work weeks. Uh, they have a lot. They say that the Swedish people or the Finnish people are the happiest people in the whole world. There's a reason for that. It's because these worries and these stresses of the real world, right, are very heavy on us, and they can keep us in negative states if we can't be, included in the little, well, what we put our tax money towards, right? That our tax money that we contribute is actually going to good causes. Um, Melvin's in here again. Oh, Eugene was saying hi to Melvin. Eugene actually met. Oh no, Eugene hasn't met Melvin yet. Yeah, Melvin was one of my maybe Eugene has met Melvin, but Melvin has been missing on my live shows for quite a while now. I suspect that maybe he's feeling a little bit better. I'm going to say probably wasn't feeling good, or he was on a holiday, one or the other. But I'm sure he'll be popping into my live show this week, and if he doesn't pop in on Chatters Live next Sunday, I'll let you know exactly what the scoop is on that. But so grateful he's alive and kicking. That's all I care about. That Melvin is alive and kicking. So that makes me happy. But yeah, if I don't have your emails, like I'd like some way that I can give you a message, get a hold of you somehow. If I don't see you guys, if I don't see you guys around, right? You guys chase me down if I'm 5 minutes late. No, you guys usually give me about 10 or 15 minutes before you'll message me, because I'm never really on time to start with. I have been trying to be a little bit more consistent in when I come live, especially in my Chatters Live. But yeah, if I don't see you guys, I'm gonna worry about you guys. And if I've got your email, at very least I can check in with you, right? Or you can check in with me, because I'm gonna worry a little bit, because I really was worried for Melvin. But I'm super happy he is alive and kicking at the very least. Let me have a sip of my coffee here. I've been trying to cut back on the coffee, because when I do go for my walks, I have now the slushies. Of course, I'm going to go before I go for my walks on the hot days. I'll pick up a diet slushie, but usually I stop off and I get a cup of coffee for my walks. But at home, I've been cutting back on the coffee. I've been switching it out with my juices and my tea, and just trying to get lots of fluids into me, but try not to drink so much coffee. I'm trying to make one of those little boxes of coffee last me the same amount of time as those big tins were lasting me, and I'm doing a pretty good job. I think that I've got 1 or 2 more days of my little tin, and I think I've actually, right, at very least I've tied in how much coffee I've drunk compared to those big tins, because I'm sure I would have gone through a big tin by now. Okay, let me just come in. But yeah, nice to see you, Eugene. But yeah, thanks for that tip on the trees. I totally forgot the trees do like nitrogen. But right, I doubt if they would want the nitrogen from the burning of their own kind. So at the very least, right, at least give them the consideration that somebody is thinking of them, and if they were afraid that maybe they would burn down, right? That they would burn down because the smoke has been so bad. To at least let them know that they're safe, that those fires are not going to come into the city, right? Not unless our fall crops and the hay and the wheat are going to be what do you call cropped and baled. Uh, and another probably they'll probably start in maybe three weeks from now. They'll start baling if they haven't started already. It has been a nice dry season. Sometimes we get too much rain, and too much rain can ruin the fields, right? But I don't believe that the dry weather has been too extreme. And, maybe like what Andrew said, maybe even that smoke has been beneficial for the hay and the wheat this year. But unless it gets really, really, really dry, right? Because they'll go up like a matchstick for sure, right? The crops if they get too dry. But I'm sure that they would. They have irrigation systems, and if they have to, right, they see that coming. The crops are far enough along that they could just go absolutely crazy and just till up all or not till up but bale up all the crops really fast and get all that to market or to their stables for their animals and stuff, right? It's coming down here. And Brunswick, is that like New Brunswick that you're from, Eugene? Is that where you're from, New Brunswick? Or is that part of your last name? Or is that a train model? It makes me curious. Let me know, Eugene, in that. Yeah, so what else was new this week? Lots of stuff, right? Like, it's a lot of stuff, and it's about staying calm, right? And being steadfast for the family, but at the same time, my family are all doing their own thing. It's concert season for my sister Alice, her and her boyfriend. I was going to go with them, but it's been too hot, and my cat can stay here a couple of days by herself, but not without the air conditioning. And I have to empty my canister because it's not a window air conditioner that I can leave on. It's actually one of those floor models. And it has to be emptied because it pulls the moisture out of the air. And this week I've been changing that 2 times, 3 times if you count, like, in the morning when I wake up, and then I do it sometime during the afternoon, and then it goes off again and I have to empty it again before I go to bed. So I can't have the flooding, but also the air conditioning will automatically go off if that canister fills up. And then my cat is stuck in an apartment that is just too hot for her, right? So I canceled out on this big pig roast. He plays in a band, so they have a big fundraiser for cancer in somebody's farm, and they everybody goes out and pitches tents in the farm fields, and they build a big stage. I think it's actually like his deck or something. They make a big stage, and all weekend is just a great big party. And yeah, but I didn't miss anything. I enjoy, right, doing my own thing, taking in the lessons, going for my walks, going for my swims. Well, I didn't have a dentist appointment because it was a holiday weekend this week. But my appointments, I got two more appointments. I got one on Monday and I got one on Friday. So So, and then we're all done, and I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to take such good care of my teeth that I never have to see a dentist ever again. Right? I'm not a big fan of the dentist. I'm not even a big fan of the hospitals, but you do what you have to do, right? Like my sister, she's absolutely terrified about going to the hospital. She hates hospitals. She hates surgeons and doctors, and even when she has to go in for that, right? She's gonna have to be right in it. Uh oh, it's saying that my connection was unstable there for a minute, but I was just saying, you guys, that my sister's surgery is stressing us all out. I am not a big fan of the hospitals myself. I'll probably just be in the waiting room and right sending her all kinds of good cheers and little prayers and stuff. I've been practicing my prayers. I'm not very good at it. I'm right. I talk to God like he's my best friend or something. Right. This is what I'm doing, just like a regular old person. But this is right. Yeah, I'm just stepping my toes into praying, but at least I'm dipping my toes into it. And that's what matters, right? That I'm just dipping my toes into it. And also when I'm thinking, that maybe I just stay in the waiting room under my lessons under my belt. I know my sister's not going to be the only person struggling in that hospital. I feel it when I walk in there. I just, right? It's like dodgeball. But maybe it won't be so much like dodgeball. Maybe I'll go into the cafeteria. Maybe I'll walk some hallways. Maybe I'll have some conversations with loved ones who are, right, who have loved ones that are in there for surgeries and stuff, and spread a little bit of sunshine, which is what I do the best. It's what I've always done the best. And, maybe to help other people feel a little bit better about what they're going through. Um, but yeah, we still haven't gotten the word for it. She says that they told her that it's going to be sometime this week, but they have to let her know so that she can come off of her medications, because she can't be on those blood pressure medications, and they actually take her off while she's waiting for that operation. And when they cancel it, she goes back on them. But that's a roller coaster in itself. And I know for my sister's own peace of mind, her own mentality, she even said to me, "Oh, Cindy, when I took her some cough drops to her house, she said she was going for a nap, so I didn't want to bother her, so I left them at the front door, and I just text her and I said, look out your front door. I left you some cough drops." She messaged me back after I left, actually, after I'd gotten home, and says, "Oh, I was awake. You should have just knocked on the door." But she had told me she was taking a nap, so I didn't want to bother her at all, right? But when I told her, right, it was no trouble. I said I was right there anyway, because I went for a swim, right? That I had walked down to the Pan Am pool, and I went for a swim for a couple of hours, so it was no trouble to stop off at the store and get her the halls, especially after the kindnesses she does for me and stuff. So I got her a package of halls, and hopefully with the smoke, it at the very least made it feel like her lungs were open, right? That she was getting some nice deep breaths in. I know the feeling of halls because I was addicted to halls for years, you guys. I must have been addicted to halls for 4 or 5 years at the very least, maybe even longer than that. Um, I don't know how or why I got addicted to the halls, but I was eating 4 packages of halls. If you don't know what halls are a cough drop, but it was the eucalyptus and the menthol that I got addicted to. And I just didn't suck on these little cough drops, you guys. I crunched them in my molars. Another reason that I didn't have good teeth, right? And I would just use my molars, and I would just ground them to nothing and swallow them. And I would just pop one after another. I remember every day because they come in 4 packs, right? I buy 4 of them at a time. And I did that every single day. And I did that for years. It was part of it. They call it pica. I'm sure you guys have heard of people who get addicted to like things like ice cubes, which I was addicted to for a very, very long time. I crunched the ice cubes too. And only recently have I been able to put ice cubes in my drink again. But they're big honking. I found an ice cube tray that makes big apple size ice cubes, right? So you can't crunch those. They're like, what do you call those candies? What are those candies that jawbreakers? They're like jawbreakers for sure. And I would never attempt to crunch one of those things in my mouth, right? But yeah, pica is a condition that uh, comes about when you have that gastric bypass, which I did have. And it's a common symptom. And I got addicted to crunching ice at one point. I got addicted to the halls. I got addicted to cleaning my house with Pine Sol. So I became a little bit of a clean freak at the same time, but it was only because I loved the smell of the Pine Sol. Oh my goodness, what else did I get addicted to? So many things. It was so easy for me to get addicted to stuff, right? And so grateful over the past half a dozen years. The only thing I'm just kind of boring now. It's still I still struggle with the food. Like today I made Bisquick, if you know what Bisquick is, and I just put some raisins when I get a real craving for carbohydrates. I keep Bisquick, so I made Bisquick biscuits, right? I ate biscuits today. Sometimes I'll eat the potatoes if I'm really craving the carbohydrates, and because potatoes right now are really really cheap, I'm getting like 15-pound bags of potatoes for like $4.99, when a bag like that is usually 13 or $14. And the other stores, I walk when I go for walks. I just go out of my way specifically to buy these $4.99 potatoes. They even had little 5-pound bags of potatoes for 99 cents. I didn't buy any because I was walking home with the big 15-pound bag of potatoes in my knapsack. But yeah, I've been doing really, really good in all of that. Mind you, I've been pretty religious on my vitamins and minerals, taking my gummy uh, little berry jelly vitamins, and magnesium. Vitamin C, I started again this week because I don't eat a lot of citrus at all. And vitamin C is very, very good for you, especially for inflammation. And because, I have buzzing in my feet. If I don't drink enough water, I get tingling in my hands, right? And so I thought the vitamin C might help me out. And you know what? It does help me out. I really appreciate that I come up with these little formulas. I have all kinds of vitamins and minerals here, but I kind of make little formulas, little recipes for whatever I'm struggling with at the time. If I find I don't have a lot of energy, I will add an extra B12 to my routine. I do biotin for my hair. I haven't lately because my hair is growing so fast now that I'm not coloring it. I've got like 2 inches of growth, and I'm really surprised that my growth is so dark compared to the hair that I was coloring it, right? But I have been seeing the gray come in, the silver. It's still blending in a little bit with the really light blonde hair. But yeah, it's I'm not going to be coloring one more time. I am coloring my hair, but it's going to be a while. Probably won't be for another 5 or 6 months at least, because I want to get a perm and a color. I want to get a pencil perm. It's a black lady's hairstyle. They're so pretty. And I know I can get a wig, right? But I'm not a wig kind of girl. I would much rather have a nice shoulder length, curly hair. And because my hair tames pretty good, once I get that perm will be there, right? And now that I'm not coloring my hair anymore, my hair will go back to being curly rather than being frizzy, right? I can get the curls in there, but usually it's a little bit of what do you call that? Hair serum that I have to put in there to define the curls. Now you could just buy a hair dryer with a diffuser on it, right? To get your curls stand out. My hair still looks nice and long with the even with the 2 inches of hair growth and the frizz, right? I It's going to be sad when I go in for that haircut, but I understand, right? I can't act like I'm 20 years old until I'm, right, 114 years old, because if you guys let me, people didn't think of, oh my goodness, that woman's insecure because she's afraid to show her gray hair. It has nothing to do with the insecurity for me. It's just something I appreciated about myself. It was just something unique about myself, like my pink bangs, like I was talking about to start with. I can't keep them pink, you guys, because of the chlorine in the swimming pool. That it's taken out my hair color. That's the only part I color is my bangs. I still put the pink in my bangs, but and it's a permanent pink, but it's with the chlorine. It is no. Oh, excuse me. It's no challenge, right? That chlorine just strips the bangs right out. But yeah, in 5 or 6 months, you guys, I'm going to go in. I'm going to spend $200 or $300 for sure, and I'm going to get an amazing do, a color and a perm. Right? One more time, I'm going to go periwinkle and pink. And I thought those would be nice colors to properly transition into my silver hair. Unless my hair is super dark still. I don't know. But I decided that's it. No more dyeing my hair blonde. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes, right? I'm just doing it just to transition, right? It's just change, and change is good for us, even if in the moment it's difficult. Change is so good for us, and we should all be making changes in our life, not just every once in a while. I say every week, throw a wrench into it, right? And sometimes in throwing a wrench into your life, I don't mean to say self sabotage your life, but give yourself some goals, give yourself some projects, and just work towards completing them. You would be so surprised to realize what you're actually capable of, because sometimes we don't try because we think we're going to fail, but failing is okay. We never get better at anything unless we fail a few times. And I fail all the time. I even fail in things that I should have known years ago, in all honesty. But, right, I don't feel silly about it. I don't feel like I'm a dummy in that. I'm actually just kind of proud of myself that I'm willing, right, to show my dark roots, to make those failures, to make some bad decisions even, right? And yeah, change is important. We should always, right, be challenging ourselves that way. And that's the good word, right? Not self sabotaging for something to do. And the reason I'm saying that is because I did that all the time when I was gambling, you guys. That was total self sabotage because I was just problem solving constantly, right? How do you pay the bills? What do you tell your husband? Who do you borrow money from? How are you going to pay that back? I'm never going to touch that machine again. And oh my goodness, there I'm on the machine again. Tomorrow we'll try again. And just be willing, right, to look like a failure, a dummy sometimes, right? A silly person or a self sabotager because eventually you'll get over it. The only addiction I have left are the carbs, you guys, right? And everything else has just kind of sort of dissipated into my life. And at first I was a little bit scared not to have any coping mechanisms, but you make healthy coping mechanisms, right? You do the dishes more often. You go for more walks. You spend more times with your friends and more times with your family. You bring on new projects, right? And I'm just gonna take that notification out of there. And that's what you do, and that's how you get over. I'm a true believer in baby steps, right? I mean, if you're a fentanyl addict or a heroin addict, that could be really detrimental to your well-being just to quit non-turkey. What do you call it? No, quit cold turkey, right? That's really hard on the system and stuff. But I'm a true believer in stepping down, not um, bringing on a new addiction, but maybe being a little bit more in addiction. Like I could be washing more dishes. I could be going for more walks, which I've been doing. I could be taking in motivational and inspirational lessons. I could be getting pep talks by myself and pep talks by others, and that's how I did it. And again, I'm so grateful. I mean, right? If the pink ice donuts with the sprinkle is my only issue, right? I'm not crunching ice. I'm not crunching on whole halls. I'm not right cleaning my house with pine salt. I don't even let that stuff in my house. Oh my goodness, it's been decades. That was so bad. My whole apartment, my houses, they always smelled like hospitals, right? They always, that disinfectant smell. I don't know what I got into. All I could say is the smell was kind of like the smell of a smell that I used to enjoy as a teenager, which was gasoline too. You know, when you were in the garage and stuff, you would smell the oil and smell the gasoline and stuff. I used to love that smell too, right? But it's in my addictive personality, and I did have a condition, Pika. I'm assuming I still have that condition, but with a few lessons on my belt, I've been able to, right, see the damage that was being done, that I have been doing by my own choices, and rectify that for myself and feel good about that because I'm achieving, right? I actually I haven't downloaded the program yet, but I'm doing an addiction course out of the Simon Fraser University. And that will serve me so well just in case I want to become an addictions course. And a lot of the topics that I run in, addiction is huge. And I suspect that, you know, if I'm having conversations with people, if I'm really want to delve in and help people, that these people are going to have their own coping mechanisms. And a lot of these coping mechanisms will be in addiction. So the more I can have under my belt, the better. And it's accredited. So I will be able to say, right, that I am an accredited drug addictions counselor. And, you know, that would make me feel really good to have that on my resume. And I actually will put that on my resume. My nephew came downstairs and he printed up a whole bunch of resumes for himself, and he set the program up and they printed out perfect. I bought this printer so I could print out my own resumes, right? And now I can. It's all set up properly. So I'm looking forward to getting those documents fed into my printer and printing those off. Updated ones. I have good resumes, but they're not updated. And maybe some good letters of introductions if I'm going back to work. Right? I have 1 year before retirement, right? But for the life that I want to live, for the goals that I'm setting out for myself, there are things that I need. There are resources that I need to achieve in that. And those resources are going to need resources. So I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not going to feel bad about having to go back to work. Um, uh, right? I am willing and I am able, and I am willing and able in anything that I do. And that's the truth, right? And however it works out, I'm going to ride those waves. I'm going to ride those waves. I'm actually even pretty excited to see what the next page of my evolution is going to look like. Okay, you guys, before we head out, let's pick a quote tonight. This is a little booklet. It's called Commitment of Excellence, and it's just a book of quotes. And we're going to pick one. This is a game I used to play. I was telling on my chatters, my What's My Good Cheer podcast earlier this week. I was talking about how when I was a little kid or a teenager, when I'd have my problems or my issues, and I was looking for answers or I was looking for help, I would open up the Bible not looking, and I would put my finger on a phrase, and it always seemed to be the most perfect saying, most perfect phrase in that. And I was able to do that with any kind of book, but I thought probably the power was a little bit better if it was the Bible at the time. And in my household, there were always Bibles going on in my household because my mother loved Jesus for sure, right? Yeah, so I got this little book of quotes, you guys. We're going to just pick a page, and this is going to be for all of us this week, okay? That I'm going to read it, and hopefully it inspires, hopefully it helps, and hopefully it fits in perfectly into the situation you're in right now, that it could be the evidence for you to give it a shot. I'm pretty good at this, you guys. I'm pretty good at this. This is something for everybody. I hope it works in all of our lives perfectly. It's going to be the quote that's on the left hand side. Here it is. There is always room at the top. There's always room at the top. I don't suspect that many of you just want to be the leader in your field, right? But if you do, that's for you. But there's always room at the top, right? Maybe there was a head table in your week. Maybe you're going to a wedding, you get invited to sit at the head table. Maybe it's in an idea, right? And everybody's trying to figure out, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then you have something important to contribute, right? I don't know how that fits in to any of your lives, but keep it in mind, right? When something good happens this week, when you find that possibly you have to be the leader in something, that you have to take the reins of your life or the reins of somebody else's life or the reins of an experience or an adventure that you're in during the course of the week, that you keep that in mind. There is always room at the top. I know how it fits into my life, so I'll be looking for it myself. You guys, you have a great week, everybody. Have a great week. I don't do SteamYard though, Eugene. I don't. I do YouTube. If you want to go on Instagram, I'm happy to go live with you on Instagram. Just get a hold of me. You can message me through the Instagram platform. Let me just come in really quickly, say my goodbyes to everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming into my lives. Especially thank you so much, Melvin, for popping in and saying hi. Let me know that you're alive and kicking. I look forward to seeing you next week. Everybody, have a great week. If we don't see you during the course of the week, we'll see you next weekend with beautiful teeth, chipped on. Super excited to get those appointments over. And let's get my sister in. Let's get this up and running so that she can come swimming with me. You guys, have a great week.